Estonia is, seriously, discussing the possibility of sending troops into western Ukraine to take over non-direct combat, REA roles from Ukrainian forces to free them up.
Here's a summary of the article.
Tallinn, the government of Estonia is, seriously, discussing the possibility of sending troops into western Ukraine to take over non-direct combat, REA roles from Ukrainian forces in order to free them up to fight on the front, Tallinn's national security advisor to the president told Breaking Defense. Madus Roll said the executive branch is currently undertaking an analysis of the potential move, and though he said Estonia would prefer to make any such move as part of a full NATO mission, to show broader combined strength and determination, he didn't rule out Estonia acting in a smaller coalition. Roll's comments came after the head of Estonia's defense forces, General Martin Herem, told Breaking Defense earlier last week there had been discussions in the military months ago about sending troops to western Ukraine to take on jobs like medical services, logistics or air defense for some western cities, but the air had gone out of those talks after the idea became a public lightning rod. Herem was likely referring to the outcry that followed French President Emmanuel Macron's declaration that Western nations must be open to discussing sending their troops in to aid Ukraine. The willingness of different nations to send some forces into Ukraine is a potential dividing line inside NATO. Although each member of the alliance is free to send forces where it feels it must for its national interests, some nations have been clear they see more risk than reward in doing so. The U.S. ambassador to Estonia, George Kent, pointed Breaking Defense to the Biden administration's policy of aiding Ukraine through significant aid packages, but a firm commitment not to send in American soldiers. In contrast, there is Macron's statement, as well as Lithuanian Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė, who recently told the Financial Times she was open to sending Lithuanian troops into Ukraine to train Kyiv's forces there.
This post received a score of 22,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
This kind of rhetoric seems to be increasing. What has changed in the last few weeks? Is because the news just back focusing on it, or is it the wider changes made by Russia?
Lots of reports have been made public recently about Russia planning to carry out, orchestrate attacks in the UK and mainland Europe, and doing things like threatening NATO soldiers' families, jamming civilian aircraft GPS and committing hundreds of cyber attacks. Presumably there are a lot more that hasn't been made public. Mike Johnson said he was putting the USA aid to a vote after an intelligence briefing. That might have just been regarding Ukraine, or maybe there was also evidence Putin will take troops beyond Ukraine, or their indirect attacks could escalate. Ascension, one of the largest USA healthcare providers, was recently targeted and crippled by criminals likely employed by Russia.
I'm going to add to this, they're already jamming GPS over the Baltic Sea and others. This includes Estonian territory.
Flight Radar 24 map.
Any idea why Rangoon, Myanmar is being jammed?
Probably due to the civil war.
Estonia. Much like Russia, we don't control where our soldiers take their vacations. I guess they just wanted to enjoy some light logistics.
2024 logistics competition hosted by the UAF.
The real competition is in rhythmic logistics. All joking aside, this could be the plan to finally knock the wheels off Putin's Ukraine ambitions. Create a situation where even if he advances reliably into Ukraine, if he reaches a point where he is in contact with NATO troops in a defensive posture. The problem is that we really should have had NATO troops in Kharkiv if we were going to do that. As sadly usual in this conflict, too late.
I believe that NATO rules are that the country they go in to help must be a signed member of NATO. Well, wrong. We bombed the shit out of Serbia, and Kosovo wasn't a signed member. The actual rule is, we only go into a country when we feel like it.
Serbia didn't have nuclear weapons. I have a feeling a lot of people here don't understand how devastating modern nuclear weapons are. They make the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like sticks of dynamite, and there are thousands of them. For context, and because I'm bored, one nuclear submarine, of which the US has 10 patrolling at any given time, has 20 missiles that can be fired off rapidly. Each missile has an MRV carrying 8 warheads which can be independently guided. Each of these 8 warheads can have a yield of 10 to 470 kiloton, although the last I heard each warhead was around 100 kilotons currently. For reference, Little Boy dropped on Hiroshima was 15 kilotons and Fat Man dropped on Nagasaki was 21 kilotons. So each missile is producing 8 explosions 5 to 7 times bigger than the bombs dropped on Japan, and there are 20 missiles on each sub, and there are 10 subs from the US alone.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.